country and the globe, where they express their views on this platform about contemporary issues. Before I start this session, I would like to talk a little bit about our channel. It has been 13 plus months since we have been running View TV by Vijay Bhumi. It's a free online knowledge sharing platform where we try to bring together youngsters, parents, educators, all on one forum, and we discuss all topics that are related to the future of education, the topic of education itself, and all contemporary issues that have been happening around us. I'm very happy to share with all of you that we've curated more than 150 episodes since the time that we have started this channel, and it is all thanks to your constant encouragement and support that we get every week. Also, as I had announced earlier, we have some very exciting giveaways that have been organized for our audience members of this episode. So please make sure you're asking us a lot of questions, because we are going to be giving some exciting prizes to the best questions of this episode. So today we are joined to discuss a very, very important topic. In fact, yesterday in our Educator Speak episode, we were joined by Dr. Kavita Agarwal, who spoke about this topic from an educator's perspective. Today, we're going to be talking about board examinations and college admissions 2021 from a student's perspective. We want to hear from them. What is the anxiety that they're going through at this point of time? The pent-up frustration because of no certainty in terms of when the board examinations are going to happen, when the competitive examinations are going to happen, or rather the larger question for them, that when are they even going to get enrolled in their dream universities? So as one can imagine, it is a very difficult time for students and parents. They are surrounded by multiple dilemmas. There are multiple questions which they don't have answers to. In today's episode, we will hear from the students, try to unpack with them, what could be the possible solutions in this problem, and urge all the educators, all the parents, all the policymakers who are joining me in this episode, that whether, we can actually reflect on these solutions being provided by the students and see what best we can do for them to get them out of this uncertainty. I must introduce the lovely panel that I have here today from the Sri Shiksha Yatan School, Kolkata. Firstly, I would like to thank the school for facilitating to join us. I really hope all of you are doing well and safe. And it's very kind of you, because one of them is unwell, but she has still very kindly decided that, she would be a part of this panel discussion and share her views with us on this very, very important topic. All my viewers who are joining me, you guys know the drill. Make sure you're asking us a lot of questions. I will integrate those questions in my conversation with my lovely panelists. And like I said earlier, best questions will be given giveaways at the end of the episode. So without further ado, let us begin the session today with my bright young panel joining me today. Now, the first question I think I have to ask three of you, because, I'm sure this must be something that all of you must be talking about, chatting with your seniors. How do we deal with this creature called the board examinations during the times of this pandemic? So while you have the IB board and the Cambridge board, who have already given out a decision, and they have said that they are going to be sticking to a school-based assessment, CBSE, ISC, and the various state boards are yet to take a decision. As of now, the exams stand postponed, but we yet don't have certainty as to what is the next step going to be. So I would like to hear from you, from the student community. How do you think we should be addressing this problem? If we could first start with Swagata.
Good evening, everyone present here. Am I audible?
Yes, Swagata, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so when I first heard this question, my first initial thought was that what should I say exactly? Should I say what I want, or what should actually happen? But obviously no 17-year-old wants to give this huge exam with a lot of pressure on us. But of course, the way this education system is built, this one exam, these 2 years, unfortunately does decide the rest of our lives, how our career is going to go. And I don't think it is fair to cancel the exams for the students as well as the teachers who are putting in a lot of effort to teach us a lot of these things. I am sure everyone except me, has been working hard for this one big exam, and their efforts will have been wasted if it gets cancelled. The question about whether it should be offline or online exam does seem a bit bleak right now. If the situation does calm down a bit in a few months, or maybe by the next year, maybe they can go ahead with the offline exams. But for me, the most important thing is that a decision is made as soon as possible, because the prospect of waiting for the decision to be made is more anxiety inducing for me, more than the decision itself. So I think the decision should be made faster. That's what I think about this issue.
Totally agree with you, Swagata. So, I mean, you're absolutely right in saying that we definitely need some certainty at the earliest, that which way are we headed on this issue. And secondly, we must also consider exploring the option of, considering online mode of exams. And also the fact that, that you principally believe that, it's probably not a wise idea to scrap the exam altogether or do some mass graduation of these students. Because you think it'll be unfair to the students and the teacher community at large, who have worked very hard on preparing these students for a year. So Durba and Atriya, if I may hear from you, do you have any contradicting opinions on this, or would you like to add something that's
Definitely.
Yeah.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So my view would be that, whatever we are saying right now, we are discussing over here, it's from a very privileged point of view. Okay. So we are telling that, okay, maybe we should do the board exams or whatever, but there are a lot of people who haven't yet completed the syllabus. Okay. Let me break it down to you. Our schools have begun from June or maybe a little earlier, but I know of a lot of schools who have not yet been able to do the online classes thing because it's not accessible. Let's be real, we are living in India. Most of the people do not have the resources that we as a privileged student have. We also have to see them, and as a CBSE board or an ICSE board, it's important that we consider every single student, not just our particular strata. We consider people from all the different sectors of the society. So people do not have the basic reach to online classes or even mobile phones. Governments are giving out mobile phones, even that is being misused. So I don't understand how the government is going to handle it, but they need to do something fair for both the sectors, the privileged and the underprivileged. That's my view on that.
I think that's a very fair point that you've made here. We cannot just look at it from the hen just of the privileged section of society. There are a large population of India that does not have access to internet, that has, you're absolutely right. A lot of schools have not been able to efficiently roll out online education to their 12th graders, because of which they've not finished the portion. So
also, if I may add a point, like in normal situations, some people do not, if some people cannot even afford books, and that's why CBSE does provide free book services. So at this point, where it's really difficult for even some privileged classes to arrange for online classes, how do you expect people who cannot afford books to actually afford online class services? That is something.
Yeah, I think that's a point very well made there, Athri. Thank you so much for that. Durba, would you like to add something, or would you differ? What would you like to add to this central question that we are looking to answer today?
Yes, ma'am. The main thing I'd like to add is that I've recently seen a lot of students put up petitions that if the exam is held at all, it can be held in an online format. So, adding to what Athri said before, that we are looking at this from a very privileged standpoint, where there isn't electricity in many of the villages. How can we expect those students who have perhaps never used this form of technology in their life to suddenly be well versed with technology enough to give the exam in an online mode? So the online mode is not really an option. We have to be realistic. If the board exams are held at all, it has to be in an offline way. But at the current rate at which the infections have been increasing, we have to at least wait till all the students of class 10 and 12 are vaccinated. Even if the class 10 exams are cancelled, at least all the class 12 students need to be vaccinated before the exams are taken. But if they are taken at all, it has to be offline. Online exams are not really realistic in the current situation that our country is dealing with.
So that's a very strong viewpoint coming there against online examinations, as it might be just restricted to the privileged few. A point very well taken. Next question I think that we all are trying to answer is the fact that, a lot of this uncertainty for students to begin with creates stems from the fact that, they're looking to get into colleges and universities this year. Maybe a lot of solutions can come from the fact if there's some sort of a collaboration between the higher educational institutions and the schools at this point of time, to sort of ease out the anxiety of students and give them some sort of certainty in terms of the university and college admissions. So, what is the pulse of the student community on this? Do they have any potential solutions in mind that how can universities actually help ease out their anxiety at this point of time? Atre, if we may start with you first.
Yes, definitely. The thing that he said is a collaboration between the higher education and the school, high school, CBSE or whatever board, a collaboration between the two. But there are a lot of students who want to go outside, and there are a lot of competitive exams for that are also being cancelled. So it is a big challenge for even the students to cope up with all these certain changes that are happening, like out of the blue. So it's a bit tough for the government, but I think that as a primary body to managing the entire Indian education system, they should have something in their mind. Like they should come up with a solution. It is their duty, and they have taken it up willingly. And it's their duty, after all, to provide the people, provide the students in this case, whatever they need. So I would say that maybe like what we call pre-boards, mostly all of the boards are done with it, as of our school I'm talking about. So I guess those marks should be considered instead of the finals, because the situation is worsening and there is literally no way other than online exams, and that too all these cheating and stuff that keeps on happening. It's really not fair for the students who are not being able to avail the opportunities, quote unquote opportunities. So yeah,
No,
that's what I would like to
I
say.
think there's a point well articulated there that we need to move away from this dependency on the board examination final scores and probably look at some earlier assessments like the pre-boards, etc., and see how universities can use them creatively to sort of kickstart their admission processes for students.
Exactly. Also, I would like to add something like a lot of international schools, what they are doing, like instead of SAT exams, they are assessing all the other class exams, like a student's continuous performance from 9, 10, 11, because till 11 situations were better than what is happening right now. So they're assessing the last 3 years examinations, and then they're taking into consideration if they should apply that student or not. So that is what,
Continuous.
holistic
Yeah, a complete holistic assessment. So not just relying on, how we have done in the pandemic year, but like,
exactly.
9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, so that giving ample opportunity for, multiple scores to be taken into account to actually build the academic profile of the student. That's a very good solution you have offered there. Swagata, would you like to add something here in terms of what do you think that higher educational institutions can do at this point of time to ease out the anxiety?
Yeah, sure. I completely agree what Atri said. But the prospect of school helping out with my anxiety right now is just funny to me, because school is the main reason for my anxiety right now. All kinds of stress and anxiety that I'm feeling right now is because of school. So I think the first order of business here is that the schools should trust the students. I mean, I know 50% of the time, maybe 60% of the time, students are doing things that are not trustworthy, but I would wish that the school and the teachers would trust us and listen to us and give us a break once in a while. But honestly, regarding this topic, that's all I have to say, because we are the ones that are suffering from the anxiety here. So if I knew how to solve this anxiety, I wouldn't be having it in the first place. So I think it's a bit counterintuitive to ask us that. So I completely agree with Atri that it is up to the adults at the scene here to decide how they can help us
Also,
in this
my
situation.
teacher
So I
just
would like to.
also my teacher just texted that, do you guys cheat in online exams? Like, ma'am, did you not know that?
Right, exactly. So yeah, I would keep it up to the adults here to tell us how to help us, because we have no clue what we should do to help us ourselves.
So to all the adults watching the show here, sit up, take notice, and help the students get out of this dismal situation. That's what, that's exactly what Swagata wants to convey to every audience member here today. No, but I think that's a point well taken. It's, after all, the responsibility of the people in power to ensure that students have an easy experience. And this is a very important juncture at which students are. So I definitely agree with you there that there needs to be some swift and efficient action by the authorities. Durba, let's come to you. I mean, we've spoken about so many kind of problems that students are facing at this point of time. Atre had made a statement that, a lot of students are wanting to go abroad also. So they are also faced with numerous questions at this point of time that, whether they should be going abroad or not, considering the situation, is it going to be safe or not? A lot of universities are saying you have to get vaccinated before you come. So will they get the vaccine or not? Lots of questions. And these are just some of the many questions that are going on in the minds of students and parents, which brings me to the point of counseling. Very less talked about in the Indian education system, but very much the need of the hour right now, because, students are really at the helm of breaking down. What kind of counseling do we need to institute for students at this point of time? How should we be rolling out? What kind of aspects should we look at, in terms of this counseling? Should it only be restricted to career counseling, or are we also looking at emotional counseling, mental counseling?
So recently I've been observing this trend that whenever students are facing any particular apprehension regarding their academics, like for example, the class 11 students recently started a hashtag on Twitter that they want the exams to be held online or to be cancelled altogether because it wasn't safe for them to go to school at that kind of a situation, and they were feeling very apprehensive about that. So we've been seeing that students have been taking up these issues online, asking the boards to respond to it. And it's very important to get some kind of a response from the other end. Right at the moment, we know that our opinions are being noticed by the boards or that our voices are mattering to them. We feel a lot more at ease. Why does all this anxiety even happen in the first place? Because of two things. The boards, whenever these kind of hashtags, it doesn't matter if we put them on trending on Twitter, it still does not get noticed at all. We do not get any response from the other end, which is very disheartening, and it increases the kind of anxiety we are going through. And the second thing is that there are no surveys that are being taken place. I think surveys are honestly very important to know about the students' opinions on the various steps that the government is taking in this kind of a situation. So it is not possible in a country with a population as large as this to offer counseling individually to each and every student. But if their anxieties, which they are presenting in a very unified form, are addressed, if they are given the knowledge that their opinions matter and their opinions are being acknowledged, I think that they will be in a lot more peaceful state of mind and they will feel at ease with the situation. I think that is currently very important.
I absolutely agree to you. So, on our social media, a lot of our audience members have been asking us about, the question, especially of this movement on Twitter that has started, hashtag Students Life Matters, which is trending on Twitter. And I think, Durba has very effectively responded to that, that it's very unfortunate that even though, there's such a mass movement that has been put into place, a lot of students are writing about it on social media, especially on the platform Twitter, there still doesn't seem to be many people of the authorities who are actually sitting up and taking notice. And I think even the questions that are related to mental health, this is coming straight from the horse's mouth, that there are a lot of mental health issues that are being faced, and the first step in that direction would be help them first get rid of the uncertainty, and then slowly you can sort of they can start their healing process again. I mean, I think the first foot in the door has to be that we have to make sure that we are ending the certain uncertainty that exists around exams for our students. Swagata and Etre, would you like to add something on the point of counseling?
Yeah, so I would like to take up a point that Atre and Durba took up in the first question, that I think instead of us as in the privileged private school kids, the counseling should be extended to people who do not get the same opportunities as us, the marginalized groups of people, the people who are solely depending on their school and they do not have any extra classes or parents to help them back at home. So they are the ones who truly need help. Because for me personally, I have heard every kind of counseling that I could possibly get from my parents, from my cousins, even from my neighbor auntie, even though I did not ask her opinion. So for me, I don't think I need any specific kind of counseling to help me to further my studies, because at this point, I just need to gear up and actually put in efforts to overcome the strains that I've put on my own education. So that's my opinion on this counseling matter.
Fantastic. So clearly, Swagata's approach has been morely that please help yourself. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that's another approach, definitely, that I think, is something that, like I think this was something you were speaking about in yesterday's episode with Dr. Kavita Agarwal. And she said, actually in schools, we should introduce programs for life skills where we aim to make students more resilient. To be able to deal with their problems. Like that also needs to be part of our education system. It's not only about bookish knowledge and theories and all of that being taught, but these are important life skills. At least this is what the pandemic has taught us, that we have to learn to be grateful, we have to learn to be resilient, because that's what's going to keep us motivated and going to ensure that we keep going forward. Now, obviously, this conversation would be incomplete until we don't talk about the elephant in the room, which is the competitive examinations. There's anyway so much of drama around it every year. We have lakhs and lakhs of Indian students who, toil the midnight oil, are burning the midnight oil, are, preparing for them for 4, 5, how many ever years, because, nowadays coaching starts as young as 6th grade. What about those kids? How do we deal with the competitive exams in this kind of a pandemic year? And also the fact that there are a lot of students of last year who actually dropped this year, last year, thinking that, what, once this pandemic gets over, hopefully by 2021, I will write the competitive exam in 2021 and take admission then, when there's more certainty. But unfortunately not. So this is probably the worst nightmare of those students. How do we deal with this? Atre, over to you. Like, how do you think we deal with competitive examinations in this scenario?
Okay. Yeah. So when a student in an Indian education system is in class 8 and giving the final exam, the first thought comes is, what stream are you going to take? In ICSE board, it's from class 9, and it's in CBSE board in class 10. So people are already planning as to what job they'll get after graduating from class 9 and 10. So that's something, that's the first thing. There are chain of thoughts attached to this one thought. Okay. So like, what stream are you going to take? Okay, you're not going to take science. Then what are you going to do? Are you going to starve for the rest of your life? In the Indian education system, that's pretty viable. And and now in this situation, I literally know some people who have dropped last year, so as to this year's situation will be better when they are going to give the exams this year, and now they're panicking the heck out of themselves. Like, what's going to happen? It's been 2 years that I have not done anything, like have not given any exam, nothing. I literally, as a school student, I can say we are out of practice of giving exams. What about them? They have literally not appeared for an exam in the last 1.5 years. So what about them? So like, it's a chain of thoughts that keep appearing. Like, what's going to happen if you're not giving JE? Then what are you going to do? If you're not giving NEET, you're not going to become a doctor. What college are you going to get in? No option is left literally for the people who start preparing at an early age, because they do not literally involve themselves in any other topic other than NEET or JE. That's the first problem of the coaching centers starting from coaching classes starting from class standard 6 or 8, something like that. So that's the big problem. They do not know what to do. After, they just know that, okay, I have to follow this path. They are not prepared for the worst situations. So that's the thing. And competitive exams, we don't know when it's going to happen. And the same thing comes over here as well. It's almost similar to board exams. A lot of maximum number of Indian students apply for NEET or JE exams. So that's the thing. Like, there is no assurance if it's going to happen or not. And what if it does not happen? What about the students who are sitting there preparing for 2 years? What's going to happen in their future? Like, we don't know. And it's really, really unfortunate that the government or the Ministry of Higher Education is not being able to give a statement or assure the students about anything, which is again leading to mental health issues. Like, as I said, it's family pressure plus your own personality, that you want to keep up, but at the same time, all these little things are striking you hard, and you're not being able to cope up with the situation. So yeah, that's that. Like, it's very uncertain, very, very uncertain.
Absolutely agree with you. I think you have very aptly put into words what every Indian student, at least the ones who are writing the competitive exams, are going through right now, which are lakhs of students in India. And we're talking about the future of those many number of students, which cannot be taken lightly. Durba, would you like to add something to that? How do we deal? What is your take? What do we do with the competitive exams this year? How should they happen? How do we bring some certainty into the situation?
Yes, ma'am. So, as Atri already spoke about the NEET and JEE examinations, to be honest, I don't know a lot about those two examinations because I never aspired from them. But I can talk about the UPSC examinations. So, as far as my knowledge goes, there is a certain age limit to it. Now, let us take the example of a person who is on the last year of the age limit and they already dropped it the last year in the hopes that at least this year they'll be able to give the examination in a better situation. So now, even if this year it's completely scrapped or postponed altogether, can we understand the kind of mental state that person will go through? Because these kind of examinations, we aspire for them from such a young age that it gets embedded in our identity that we want to give this examination or I want to be this. So not getting the chance to sit for that exam altogether. And there's another point that that I stated previously, holding the competitive examinations online. I would again state that it's not an option. It's not an option because in board exams the number of aspirants are comparatively less in comparison to these um, competitive exams. So we have students from each and every part of the country. Every year we see that for IAS, this rickshaw puller's driver, rickshaw driver's daughter topped in the examinations. They are able to do it because everyone is at a same level. But if this year suddenly it becomes online, those students will be put at a very uneven ground. So I think that the exams for this year, the government should be trying to accelerate the vaccination processes, and it should be held as fast as possible so that candidates do not lose out on their opportunities to give these exams. I think that I personally know a few UPSC aspirants. All they want right now is for the exams to be held somehow. It's very important for them for the exams to be held. It cannot be scrapped in this year.
Correct. So the larger, I think, unanimous opinion here is that the exams cannot be scrapped. And if they must not be scrapped, the only solution is quickly get this population vaccinated. Only once they're vaccinated can we successfully hold physical examinations. Because if we switch to the online medium, it would mean that you are putting a large section of our society and our country at a certain disadvantage. So there's,
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
also I would like to add something that the vaccination process, even though if it's done, we are not sure that everybody is going to be vaccinated, or how effective is the vaccine going to be when the mutations of the virus increases. There are a lot of downsides to this one reason, and also we cannot do without these exams because these literally determine the future of half the population of
Yeah.
India. So exactly, like it's
No, you're
not
right.
that
It's a very complex issue because yes, there are a lot of questions that are being raised on the efficacy of the vaccine. While largely we have been told that even though with the new mutation of the virus that is happening, these vaccines are going to be 60 to 70% efficient. But yet again, time will only tell. Once we have more data that we can research on. Second, everybody is also remarking on the fact that, probably once 60% of the population is vaccinated, we are going to reach herd immunity. And that would probably be the end of a lot of COVID woes that we are having in our country. But then again, for us, with a country of such a big population, for 60% to get vaccinated, that's a massive mission in itself. We have to see how the vaccination drive does from tomorrow itself. So we can really hope and keep our fingers crossed that it is a big success, so that students can also get the vaccine and we can move forward in the competitive examination processes. Now, one of the questions that again I'm getting from one of our audience members who are watching this episode on YouTube, they are asking us, and I'll give this to Swagata. How effective do you think online education has been? I mean, you've been through online education for the past 13 months. How effective do you think it has been? Do you think there have been gaps in online education? If there have been gaps, once you go into university, do you think that, universities have to create foundation programs to bridge those gaps? Because especially in science related disciplines where understanding of the concepts is key, and it's essential to have like a proper foundation of these concepts. It can be really problematic if due to this online year a lot of these concepts have not been clear, and it can actually lead to the fact that there's not proper absorption of knowledge in the advanced courses that are offered at the universities. So, I would like to know, do you think online education is better than what you got in school? If not, did you feel there were gaps? If there were gaps, how do you think higher education institutions should address it?
Okay, so first of all, obviously, looking at what's been going on for the last 2 months, we had literal protests to stop offline exams in schools and whatnot. So I would say certainly that there have been huge learning gaps for not only my own department of science, but all the other departments of commerce and humanities. So yeah, there has been definitely a huge learning gap, and the way to address it, the obvious answer should be that we should be giving extra classes by our schools and our teachers. But looking at the huge surge that has been in the virus in the last few months, obviously that means that these extra classes also have to be online. So I think that is defeating the purpose, because I don't think the online classes have, at least for me personally, have been that useful, because because this learning gap is most definitely the fault of like at least 40% of the students negligence against paying proper attention to the online classes. So I think what should be done is, again, I'm saying, should be done on the students. We have to put in their 100% to bridge this gap that they have created for themselves. We ourselves need to work harder to bridge this huge gap. But if I'm going to be honest, I don't think it's going to be quite possible. And if it is, I think it's going to be very hard for us to do. But I think schools should be encouraging us at this point to somehow bridge this thing. I can't think of anything other than our own efforts to solve this thing that we have created for ourselves.
So I think Swagata is very unequivocally stating there that there have been learning gaps that have, students are experiencing, and those need to be addressed at the earliest. Any concluding remarks on this issue, Etre, Durba, that you would like to add? Do you notice there are learning gaps? How can we sort of resolve this issue? Should universities, when students get admission, introduce foundational programs so that, actually these concepts can be made further clear? Would love to hear from both of you.
I think that introducing foundational programs will be very useful, because, as Swagata said, I 100% agree that there has been a negligence from the end of students. But then again, you cannot completely blame the students, because this shift has been very drastic for them as well. It has been difficult to suddenly adjust yourself with sitting in one room with a device for nearly 12 hours of the day and studying at a stretch without any interaction with other people. It's very hard to focus on one topic for that much of a long time. So yeah, it's been difficult for the students as well. So introducing foundational courses will be very useful, and especially I think that once the colleges are started, unlike the other years where they directly get into academics, I think that in the beginning few months, some time should be given to the students to actually clear up the gaps they had in the previous years. For example, as a student of history, if I have any doubt about any particular era that was not clear in class 12 because of this, online form of education. So, firstly, colleges should take some moments to clear up those existing gaps. You cannot construct a building on a very shaky base. So, I think that's very important to clear up the previous concepts.
Absolutely. I totally agree with both of you here that, we have to. I think that's where higher education institutions also have to step up again to provide, foundational courses that, actually clarify the concepts that would have been dealt with 11th and 12th for these students. Because that would definitely be required, considering that it was a very drastic shift for the student community, and likewise even for the teachers community, for them also to quickly change their teaching methodologies, take it online. It was not easy. So definitely there would have been lapses, there would have been gaps. And like I think, we've been talking about the fact that it's only not about the privileged schools, but there are a lot of students who have actually not been able to get any education since the pandemic has started, since they don't have access to online resources, their teachers don't have access to online teaching tools. So definitely this is something where higher educational institutions need to step up. Atre, before we end the episode today, any concluding remarks from you?
Yes, definitely. This discussion was really, really helpful because we got all of the very different perspectives in one place, and it is going to be beneficial for the people who are watching to analyze it according to their point of view, and also considering ours. But the thing is that did we ever question that offline classes were better? No, we are questioning if online classes are better, and that question is showing how unsuccessful of online classes are. So I guess that's that. And it's also a student's duty. I won't disagree with what Shagota said and Durva said. It's a student's duty as well to be dignified. Like, we are doing online classes for as you said 13 months now, and I've noticed that people deliberately missing classes and then again asking for extra classes, and I do not really understand the point of doing this method of missing classes and then again asking for classes, and deliberately ignoring the classes and again asking for extra classes. So it's a two-way communication. Nothing happens in one way. When teachers are constantly asking you to keep your videos on, you're deliberately keeping it off, it's your mistake that you are not considering the teacher's point of view. It's tough for both of us, but at the end we all have to come down to a same point to for the benefit of both of us. So that's that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. We have to all come together as an ecosystem and sort of help each other out of this situation that we are in. I think we've had a fantastic conversation today with all these three bright students of Sri Shiksha Yatan School, Kolkata. We have unraveled several questions that are faced by the authorities, schools, higher educational institutions at this point of time. Obviously, the unequivocal opinion of the students is that we need to take a decision quick. We need some certainty as soon as possible so that we can chart our next few steps to decide our future. This is a very critical time for them, and they definitely need some answers. So, with these words, I think I close today's episode. I think it was truly an honor and privilege to be chatting with all three of you. I am sure my audience members have enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, enjoyed chatting with all three of you. Thank you very much for taking out the time and being with us today. A big thank you to your coordinator for facilitating the session for us. Thank you very much, ma'am. We really appreciate it. To all my audience members, a very big thank you to all of you for joining us. It is your encouragement that keeps us going week on week and encourages us to curate content for you on a weekly basis. We'll be back again next Friday with the next set of students to discuss another contemporary topic related to students. Till then, stay safe, everybody. Mask up, take care. These are difficult times, but this too shall pass. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.